Messages from the Creators. In the previous chapter, we explored an overview of the 12 developmental stages of a human being. However, have you ever wondered, are we and God one and the same? So when you reach level 12, have you truly achieved union with God? Please watch the video below and reflect deeply to find the answer. Hello dear friends, we are the founders. In the coming years, our world will witness many important events. The life of every organism existing there will be profoundly affected. In upcoming communications, we will detail and thoroughly explain these changes from certain favorable perspectives, to help you gain a clear and thorough understanding of what has happened, is happening, and is about to happen. We will begin by exploring the perspective of creationism. In fact, this opening message refers to Earth's transformations to explain the underlying reasons why. That is how the infinite God created all things, encompassing the entire universe, galaxies, star systems, and solar systems, planets, life forms, worlds, subworlds, or dimensions and densities. The laws, the principles, the acting forces, the powers, the sources of energy, and of course, the spirit. All things belong to God, and all things themselves are God. God exists within and transcends all time frames, timelines, and all dimensions. God exists in the void, even though the concept of existence does not truly belong there. By nature, human language is inherently incapable of fully expressing every aspect of the Supreme Being. However, we will attempt to illustrate the parts relevant to the transformation of the Earth. In some instances, the recipient of the message may supplement it with additional illustrations such as charts, drawings, maps, etc. To further elaborate on the ideas we are discussing, a picture is worth 1,000 words. First, we will go over some common human misconceptions. The notion that God is male or female is essentially a misconception, stemming from humanity's limited perception. However, sometimes envisioning God with human-like intelligence and attributes proves useful. Because all of you were created in the imagination and are exactly like God. From that point on, God is everything. He can be a man, a woman, both, and also neither of them. Due to language limitations and to simplify the matter, we will use the word he when referring to God in this article. When your souls were first decreed, God created both heaven and earth. And each individual soul is an extension of himself, to explore and experience the created world more fully and profoundly. But that soul has freed itself, merging into the endless waves of creativity. The first few souls entered the creation process near the point of conception, a point which the perceiver calls the 12th density. The other souls were released at a lower frequency, known as the 7th density, which is you. In the early dawn of the universe, only a few spatial dimensions existed, while the other additional dimensions were still vibrating at the 7th density and higher. Therefore, these souls we refer to as the ancients often begin their journey from the 7th density. And gradually maturing, they return to a density of 12 upon ascension. Upon returning to density 12, it means they have matured, having fully experienced all stages from infancy and adolescence to adulthood. And finally, fully functioning adults. The next waves of creation unfolded with the emergence of the ancients, along with the spirits and collective souls released by the Supreme Being billions of years ago. Since then, countless changes have taken place, and although there have been certain moments for the liberation of souls, and precise mathematical explanations for most phenomena occurring in the universe's earliest days. However, there are always exceptions to every rule. Some souls shot forth like beams of condensed light, while others separated into pairs or gathered into clusters of 12 luminous points. Some souls broke free in large clusters, then shattered into smaller fragments as they descended deeper into the creative zone. Some souls were liberated early in the process of creation and evolved tremendously to become beings of the 12th density, where they possess the ability to create entirely new universes. We are known as the creators, and we are indeed a part of them. A small portion of our energy has been lowered to density 7, where we can connect with the receivers of your messages, including the one reading this message. Most of this book's readers emerged during a great creative explosion approximately 100 million years ago. In this wave, you are liberated from the God of the 7th density of vibration. Here, you will have the following choices. One is to explore worlds existing in lower densities, and the other is to continue evolving from the 7th density to the 12th density. However, at the moment the soul evolved, you ceased your vibrational energy at the third density. So now you're moving up to density level 4, while some others are preparing to transition from density level 4 to level 5. Each density level is described in detail in different sections. There will be an overview of the fall from grace and its consequences. In the work of creation and the maintenance of various universes and galaxies, there always exist a few immutable principles. Although many universes were created by creative entities rather than directly by God, most of these sacred rules still apply equally to those local universes. However, not all universes have a concept known as free will. That is a principle that applies only to a very small proportion, which includes your universe. When God granted souls free will, it could be seen as a small experiment to discover how creation would manifest itself. Like any dedicated scientist in their laboratory, the Supreme Being also experiments with countless different possibilities. He tasked us with designing a DNA molecule, one of the precursors of life in the universe. After millions of years of evolution on Earth, we have perfected the DNA structure characteristic of the ape species. Although the Creator made all forms, we played a central role in the shape you are in today. Of course, this form was created with the purpose of providing a means for souls to experience life to the fullest, including worlds existing in dimensions with low vibrational frequencies. As you have learned from previous teachings, the fall from heaven was an event of free will, which could not have been foreseen by the Supreme Being. These souls have become trapped in lower densities. So how did this happen? The intensity of spiritual experiences during reincarnation causes most souls to forget their true origin. They gradually came to believe that they were these very bodies, along with the personalities attached to them. You have forgotten your truest essence, which is gradually returning, permeating through the thinning layers of energy. One day, you will remember your true nature and free yourselves from the constraints of the lower worlds. Without divine intervention, that day would still seem very far away. Therefore, with infinite wisdom, the Supreme Being established a sequence of divine arrangements, or decrees, to guide the process of predestination. To help you visualize this more easily, let's first revisit the concept of monetization. Monetization essentially has two definitions. First and foremost is the development of intelligence within a life form. And second is the process of the soul's cognitive development, progressing from lower densities to higher ones. For the purposes of these lessons, we will use these definitions with the same equivalent understanding. However, it is important to mention that physical evolution, or simply evolution or transformation, depends on the rate of change of the specimens. And the evolution of the soul is a wheel of reincarnation, simultaneously an ascension in a spiral, all depending on the level of understanding of that very soul. There is much discussion regarding physical evolution and spiritual evolution, although there is no way to perfectly and precisely express these models in our human language. A relatively simple idea is to envision the physical body as a machine, with the soul being the operator of that machine. The computer you're using to read e-books today evolved from machines that date back to the era of vacuum tube technology, magnetic tape drives and text telephones. The physical substance that you carry within yourselves initially evolved from minerals, plants, and animals through the mechanism biologists call natural selection. The purpose of this physical form is to help you directly experience the external world, a place born from creation. As your souls evolve to reach ever higher frequencies of understanding, it requires a suitable means of transportation for each world it sets foot in. Just as an engineer needs a fast, smart, and modern computer, a high school student only needs an ordinary computer. There are 7 spatial dimensions, and to experience them directly, we require some kind of special vehicle. As the soul evolves through these 7 dimensions, it requires a suitable vehicle for each dimension. As mentioned in previous articles, there are many ways to travel across dimensions. At your levels 3 and 4, the use of the Wheel of Reincarnation is one of the most wondrous arrangements of the divine. As you evolve into the 5th and 6th dimensions, you will use a light crystal body as part of the spiral ascension process. Before discussing specific arrangements, it is necessary to recall a similarity mentioned in previous sections. A misconception exists in this world about how human beings achieve union with God. First and foremost, though the degree of communion may vary, we are all ultimately one with God. Because the universe is a unified whole, and we are part of that totality. However, the notion that the soul continuously ascends through increasingly higher levels to ultimately merge with God is an inaccurate concept. The closest comparison to explain this is the process of a human being born. You were born from your mother's womb, gradually growing and developing into a fully functional adult, just like your parents. Later, when you grow up, you will become independent parents with your own lives to raise your children, and you can no longer live together or fully integrate with your own parents. In the same way, souls are created by God. From young souls, they gradually grow and evolve to become mature souls. Upon reaching maturity, they become identical to their divine parents. But that soul realized it was part of all things, emerging into oneness with the whole of creation. Yet they themselves are independent souls, in their own right, capable of creating entire universes just like the very being that gave them life. Though in the lower worlds, you possess free will, you also carry within you a glorious mission, to mature and become creators like us. Yes, that's right, not entirely like us, because every soul is unique and irreplaceable. Each person has a distinct contribution to make in shaping this world. By now, you must have grasped the profound meaning behind that story. Another concept that is very difficult to interpret is the notion of group souls. This is because each of your individual souls has the ability to connect and form an energy matrix with other souls, for the purpose of experiencing the combined energies of the entire group. Essentially, this can be seen as a process of spiraling backward along the evolutionary coil until you return to those primal clusters of energy, the very point from which you originated in the beginning. Once again, this is not entirely accurate, but until a certain level of understanding is reached, you will still be bound by language and inappropriate thoughts and concepts, preventing you from distinguishing between the group soul and individual or supreme souls. Therefore, a patient and meticulous process of explanation may be necessary to help you grasp these concepts, but it must be carried out in appropriate contexts and at suitable times. At this point, many of you might be wondering, how has this wondrous orchestration unfolded in our world? R404 will return and continue this topic in the next part of the series. Don't forget to leave your feedback after watching the video so our team can know what you think. And now, goodbye and wish everyone a good day.